This recording is to demonstrate the Selective Permeability Lab for students in Mrs. Stout's biology classes at Limestone Community High School. Before you get started with the lab, it is imperative that you focus on safety and that you do wear the safety goggles at any time that you are dealing with the components of the lab. See, I'm even wearing them too. Okay, hopefully you saw that. For this lab, you will need some water, you will need some iodine solution, which will be already measured out for you in a test tube. You will need a cup, a plastic bag, and 8 grams of starch, which you will use the electronic balance to measure it out. Before we get started with the lab, I wanted to show you some properties of these materials and how you'll be able to figure out what's going on. First of all, iodine is a pure substance, and this, if you wanted to look at molecular structure, is what iodine looks like. It is just made out of 2 iodine atoms bonded together, so it's a pure substance. Starch, on the other hand, is not. This is what a molecule of starch looks like. Huge. Way more stuff involved in starch. So it is a complex molecule. It is made up of carbons and hydrogens and oxygens all bonded together in a bunch of different ways. It is not a pure substance like iodine is. So iodine is pure, iodine is small, starch, not pure, not small. But what happens when these 2 substances mix is that you can just tell when they have mixed together. So I have a little demo for you here. Iodine, as you can see in this test tube, is kind of like a dark caramelly browny sort of color. And starch is just a white powder. And I've mixed up some starch with water in this solution. So we've got our brownie iodine and our white starch. Iodine is a type of chemical known as an indicator, which means that it changes color in the presence of whatever it is that it's supposed to indicate. And iodine will turn color when it is in the presence of starch. So, watching the starch test tube, and you can see that it is no longer that browny caramelly color. Instead, it turns a really dark, like black purple color. And that's saying that, hey, there is starch present here, which, duh, we mixed up the starch in the container, in the test tube. So when you are getting started, what you will need to do is you'll need to take a clean McDonald's cup, I know, super fancy, and I'm going to want you, before you put anything in there, I want you to put your name on it. So, putting my name on it, and hour. Don't put 5th, because no one's in my 5th hour class. Put the hour that you are in. In the McDonald's cup, to about the second red line, you are just going to take water from the jug that will be at the main lab table, and you'll fill it to about that second line. And with this one, since it's not a real specific chemical reaction that we're looking for, it's okay to sort of eyeball this one. You will then get the test tube of iodine, and you will pour it straight into the cup. You do want to be careful because iodine can stain your clothes. Iodine is a poison as well, so just like any lab that we do in this class, you will not drink it. And so you can look in the cup and just see that that's not a pretty color. But that's our iodine solution. Then you will come over to the electronic balance and make sure it's turned on. It's getting itself figured out. Remember, this is a process called tearing. And you wait till it gets to 0, 0. Let me get this in the right mode. Oops, I zipped right past it. We'll know it's in the right mode because it will have grams there. And it'll say 0, 0. And then you're going to take a little paper towel and you're going to fold it up and put it on top of the plate. And it's going to say that it's 3.1 grams. We don't want that. So we are going to push the tear button, and it's going to zero out again. So the machine kind of thinks that the paper towel isn't even there. Then we will take the box of cornstarch, and using the provided super fancy science instrument, which is just a spoon, we are going to add small amounts of starch to that paper towel until we get the appropriate amount, which is about 8 grams. Which, I mean, truthfully, it comes out to approximately a teaspoon. So about a spoonful. Again, we don't have to be super specific with this because we're not looking for the chemical reaction here. We are looking for the chemical reaction, but just if it's there, it'll show us what we need to see. So I got a little bit much. If I can take some off, 8.1. I'm going to call it a day with 8.1. It's not quite as crazy as if it was like 9.6. So I will then take my plastic bag, just a cheapo Ziploc bag from Kroger, and I will pour my starch in there. Pour my starch in the plastic bag. Okay. Then I will take 100 milliliters of water, and I will pour that on the starch in the bag. I went ahead and pre-measured this out ahead of time so that I could make this video pretty quick, but you will have to get these from the sink in the office. I'm going to make sure that it is very, very tightly sealed. Go ahead and mix it up. And then, again, to ensure that we don't have any cross-contamination, you're going to want to take this into the sink and rinse off the outside of the bag. So we'll go ahead and do that, which I've already done. And now I have another bag for time purposes. And you are just going to put it like that. And we're just going to kind of see what we see. At this time, I would like for you to write a hypothesis on, do you think anything is going to happen? Do you think there's going to be any color change? Is there going to be any indicator that iodine has come into contact with the starch? And if so, how do you know? And which direction do you think it's going to flow? Do you think starch is going to come out of the bag? Do you think iodine is going to go into the bag? Or do you think nothing's going to happen? And again, if so, why? That is the end of the video, and I will give you more instructions on how often you will be checking this.